Welcome to this episode of Listen to Your Coaches. I'm your coach, Mike Wilkins, here with Coach Will Morrill. This week, we're going to run down UFC 307 and maybe talk a little other shit, too. Let's go.
All right. Will. Let's dive in. So let's just start at the beginning of like the main prelims, not the early prelims. I watched this whole card, from top to bottom, bottom to top. However, I don't have a ton to say about all the prelims, but good to go in that order?
Yeah, I'm good to go in that order. I did not watch any I watched one prelim of the whole night. I was at my cousin Corey's wedding. Yeah. Congratulations to Corey and Anna. So I did not watch any of the prelims. I caught one prelim on Danny's phone, and then I bought the pay-per-view when I got home and watched it like post pay-per-view.
Got you. All right. Well, let's start with the first fight. So, first fight is Cesar Almeida and Ihor Potieria.
Right.
Close enough. So apparently this was like Almeida was a heavy favorite, and
dude,
Potieria I was very impressed with.
I don't know anything about either of these guys, but Almeida with a. Do you believe these records that I'm looking at right now, are they post-fight or pre-fight?
I believe that's pre-fight.
Pre-fight?
I think that's going into it.
Okay.
Which some of them are nuts, right? Like 6-1. You're like, you think you need a couple more fights to be.
Yeah, 6-1 in the UFC, and like 6-1 versus 20-7.
Yeah.
That's a little shocking.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
But and Almeida is like the heavy favorite, but I guess he had a big kickboxing background. Again, don't know a whole lot about it. What's interesting about this fight, and what's going to kind of matter, like going on, one of the storylines we're going to see throughout, is that the ref kind of made a pretty bad error many times and let a bunch of eye pokes go, right? So Almeida's just going like this nonstop and just keeps poking this dude in the eye. It's like crazy bad, like constantly. And most of them, the ref's not even like seeing. He's like, keep going. And we're like, dude, what? Like even Almeida on one of them was like, all right, dude, like I'm not gonna let that one just go. Then Potieria gets crushed in the balls and finally gets a rest from an eye poke that happened just before that. So like, evens out a little bit, but it just like it kept going on. Then they get in clinch positions and like literally like 5 to 8 seconds into this clinch, it's broken up off the fence. I was like, what? And then at one point, Potieria is throwing like little like Muay Thai knees, you know what I mean? Just like, oh, let's just like, don't stop the clinch yet, right? And dude, okay, so think about Muay Thai, right? They clinch up. If they're clinched without any action for like 3-4 seconds, that's when they get broken up, right?
Yeah.
That's what this dude's doing in an MMA fight.
Wow.
So finally he starts throwing these like little crappy knees to like try to keep it going. Doesn't matter. Breaks him up anyways, right? Dude, it was
I'm gonna have to go watch this fight.
And all of these were in favor of Almeida. So like most likely it's just, what's that? Some whatever, doesn't matter, but like don't blame maliciousness for incompetence or something like that, whatever, doesn't matter. But like probably the ref was just like not very good. He was just like someone who happened to be in, where are these, Utah, right?
Yeah,
he was like on the state athletic commission, and they're like, all right, we'll let Gary get get one of the UFC fights, and then he just like completely messes it up. But it did make me wonder. I was like, yeah, like, is he betting on Almeida or something? Which wouldn't make sense because he was a big favorite anyways. But anyways,
right, yeah.
So what's important though is the announcers are not happy about this, right? And they're roasting this ref, and this continues throughout the night. The announcers being very vocal about like what they think. So that brings us to our next fight, Hubbard versus Hernandez. It was an okay fight. Back and forth, relatively close. Anyways, Hernandez wins a decision. I think it was a split decision, and the announcers start going nuts. They're like, oh, like, you can't leave it to the refs or to the judges. Like, I don't know what they're watching, blah, blah, whatever. At least the right guy won. And I was like, I mean, it was like pretty close. Like, I do think Hernandez won, and it was the right decision. But like,
oh, because it was a split. They were like, the fact that okay,
right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and maybe it was the scores. I wasn't paying that close attention at this point, but like, that bothers me when there's close fights, and then people are like, oh, that was a robbery one way or the other, and we're we're gonna see that continue on.
All right.
So then Rodriguez versus Lucindo. To be perfectly honest, there's just like not a lot to talk about here. I started seeing some really bad jiu-jitsu from Rodriguez, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And that just makes me tune out. Like when I'm watching like jiu-jitsu and I'm like, I know better and can do better than that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't care to watch this anymore. You know what I mean? Because like if I'm better than they are, like, why am I watching this? You know what I mean? You're making me worse. You know? Even in striking too. When I see striking and I'm like, this is just garbage. Like it makes me not want to watch it. So anyways, not a lot to talk about with that fight. Then we get into the final prelim. Is this the one you saw?
This is the one I saw, yeah.
Okay, so going into it, who were you rooting for?
Wonderboy.
Okay, I ended up rooting for Wonderboy overall, but the reason I wanted Buckley to like do well was because he's only the third fighter ever to wear purple shorts.
Really?
And you know how I feel about the color purple.
So him, right? Brendan Allen, and
Ian Gary.
Which,
like, not a great showing for purple people. You know what I mean? Like,
purple people eaters, no.
You know, Ian Gary is just like, I mean, he's good, but he's hated widely.
Yeah.
And then Brendan Allen did not exactly have a great showing for the purple squad.
Yeah, it's tremendous first round.
Yeah, but like didn't do anything after that.
Yeah. I like Brendan Allen though. I like watching him fight.
I don't dislike him, but at the same time, like you gotta represent the purple people properly. You know what I'm saying?
The purple people proper.
Exactly. So Buckley comes around, and I like Buckley, right?
You know, he did a portion of his camp at B Team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I listened to the Simple Man podcast.
Oh, I did not know that.
It's so funny. It's a great podcast. Yeah, and they were talking about him being there and how huge he seems because, like, his personality's big.
Too. Oh, I thought you meant because he's just jacked.
Well, there's that, too, but they're like, well, he fights at 170. It's just, like, crazy. It's like, everything just seems big, you know?
Yeah, makes sense. He seems like a character. I like him, but anyways, so overall though, you gotta that's Wonderboy. It's the nicest man in the UFC. You gotta root for him. So anyways, the fight starts going. Buckley's just blitzing, forcing clinch takedowns. Wonderboy's doing a really good job of standing up. Right, like he's not staying stuck on the bottom.
Back to the cage, getting up.
But he clearly loses the first round. Clearly loses or no, not necessarily clearly. I have written in my notes close round, second round, but I still probably would have given it to Buckley, thinking back on it. Also being a little biased towards Wonderboy. Dude, finally he applies more and more pressure and he hits that insane blitz and jumps off. I think it was a right hand that he ended the fight with, right?
Yeah.
I think he switched to southpaw.
Yeah.
Dude, pushes off his right foot super hard. I've been drilling this with our fighters so much, like blitzing patterns. And like especially ending him with like gazelle hooks like that and pushing off the proper foot, because a lot of people, especially if you switch stances before you get there, let's say you're southpaw, a lot of people will push off their back foot to hit like a step in right hook, but you have to push off your lead foot if you want to get like real power on it. So like seeing that and him like leaving the ground, it's just kind of cool. But anyways, bummed for Wonderboy, but like
yeah, dude. You know what's kind of shocking about this, looking at their records and stuff, is Wonderboy. Assuming these are pre-fight records,
I believe what we're seeing is
All right, so we're assuming I mean, it doesn't really matter into regards to where I'm going with it, but it was Buckley's 27th fight and Wonderboy's 28th fight.
Yeah,
like that's not
sorry. What you'd have expected, right?
It was both of their 27th fights. If Wonderboy was 17-8-1, that's 26 fights, and then Buckley was 20-6.
Which is weird because you think of Wonderboy as being like the vet with all this experience.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
right.
And it was both of them, and they both have had 26 fights. And you look at that compared to the opener of the regular prelims here. You got a 7-fight vet versus a 27-fight vet.
And I do wish we could see like kickboxing records, because I know Stephen Thompson had like 60-some kickboxing fights.
50-something, yeah.
Something crazy like that.
He was like 59-0.
I also wish that we could see how many of those were in the UFC, because I want to say, maybe not the majority, but I want to say a lot of Buckley's, I guess Wonderboy too.
Fights were in the UFC. I would say the majority of Wonderboy's fights were in the UFC. I mean, he was definitely in single-digit fights when he was in the UFC.
Right. That makes sense.
Whereas Buckley, I don't know.
And that's what I'm trying to get at is like, let's say that Buckley had like 10 fights in like Alaska.
When we get
what I mean? Like,
right, yeah.
Like those are different.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
Anyways, I thought it was, overall cool fight. Wonderboy had his moments. He had a lot of those like little slide back twos. And I think something that like a lot of fighters could take away from that is just like not accepting that bottom position. You know what I mean? And as soon as you hit the ground, you've got to start standing back up. And just like you said, great job fundamentals, scooting to the fence, posting up on a hand, pushing the head away and getting his hips
Not
up.
letting them get the once you accept like a guard, right? Now it's harder to get back up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. The big questions from this now are like, what's next for each one of these guys?
Is there any chance we could slide to the rankings
Sure
at welterweight? I would love to see the welterweight rankings. Now I'm sure that these rankings
are not updated yet. After
I believe they get updated on a Tuesday.
Yeah. So we'll see. So Buckley was 11.
It was a 9 versus 11. Here, you know what beef I have with the UFC rankings
is that they're terrible.
Well, I mean, yes, but I hate that like Leon Edwards is ranked number 1 and not Bilal Muhammad.
Oh, right? How they do champ. And
yeah,
then
it's like champ and then the rankings.
Yes, I agree.
Just like that
so
irritates
stupid.
me.
Yeah, why not just have one be the champ?
Yeah, that's very irritating to me.
But anyways, yeah. So what are you thinking for Buckley next? I like this. I like Della Maddalena.
I do too.
I think that's a really fun fight.
Yeah, I like that fight. Yeah, I would like to see that.
Yeah.
And then for Wonderboy, let's pull it down. Wonderboy.
Yeah.
Did he fight? Did he Michael Page? I would love to see him fight Michael.
I think that's
Page.
the move. They're both a little bit older. They're both karate guys.
Yeah, that's the fight we want to see.
Boom! I think we got it sorted. Wonderboy
versus Venom Page, and then
Buckley against who would you say? Della Maddalena. Yeah. That's actually a really fun fight.
That's it there. I like that. So what do we think's going on at the top of this division? We thinking like Shavkat versus.
So that's set from what I believe.
Versus who?
Rachmanov against Bilal.
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going on.
Scroll down just a smidge. All right. Yeah. I heard a rumor of Ian Gary and Shavkat.
Oh, really? So I love that because I don't like Ian Gary. He's just so like dislikable.
He is very dislikable. He's a good heel.
He is a great heel, and like I like his striking style, to be honest. So like that's kind of a really good
I've heard rumors of this from Chael Sonnen.
Oh, that he's like intentionally.
Nah, no. Rumors of the. So I was listening to another podcast. I'm a big podcast guy. I create them and also consume. In which he was saying this on the same day. Ian Gary and Shavkat both like posted that they signed a fight.
Interesting.
Within hours of each other, and that would make sense. But then Ian Gary later posted like a bunch of like Colby Covington hype.
That's right, man. I don't like Colby, but I would like to see him.
So that would pull back to what you said though, because then Chael was like saying like, well, maybe it is Ian Gary versus Colby and Shavkat versus Bilal.
I think that's how it should go. I think Shavkat wins that, and then I don't really care.
What do you do with Kamaru Usman?
Dude, I don't know.
I mean, like, is he coming off of like how many losses in a row?
I think 2.
You know what's crazy? I would still give him the title shot.
Yo, for real.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what? Maybe Sean Brady.
Oh,
that's a fun fight.
And winner gets the next title shot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I like that.
Dude. I think that's what you do with welterweight right now.
I like that. Brady versus Kamaru.
And I think that's a good move for Wonderboy too, going to fight Venom Page, because 1, we get the style of fight we want to see. It's not going to be him defending takedowns, and 2, it's same with MVP. We don't want to see him defending takedowns either. But also they're both older, and I think that's like, that's important to have like the older talent fight each other, because they have fights left, but like don't have them fight the killers.
See, this is the stuff I like talking about. We shouldn't even have talked about those first 3 fights.
Maybe.
Other than the eye poke thing.
I should have. Yeah, maybe I should have just made that faster and been like, yo,
dude, they're dumb.
the refs were
over
stupid.
here, I'm like, yeah, all right. All right, but now we're into the stuff, getting on these rankings and stuff. What's next? I love it.
It's fun having the rankings here. So to fill the audience in, we've upgraded
Incredible
our setup.
upgrade to the studio.
We have a right behind wherever like your perspective is. We got a little screen and we've got rankings up there.
A little screen. What is
notes
that? It's like
and
a
stuff.
42-inch TV.
We got a little TV back there with.
Will can run from his little mouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
look at us upgrading.
We've really upgraded. Pretty soon we'll be. Well, I don't know about pretty soon, but at some point in time we'll upgrade our camera.
Yeah.
And it won't be my cell phone. That'd be nice.
We're getting there. We're getting there. But anyways, yeah. You got anything else to talk about with Wonderboy and Buckley?
No, let's move on. I want to move on.
Hop into the main card. All right. So
throw us back.
Yeah, here we'll get the results up.
Yeah, slide to the main card. Go down. Right there. Yep, that's what I want.
All right. So Kayla Harrison.
Wow.
Against Ketlen Viera.
Wow. All right, so go ahead. I mean, go ahead. You just go ahead. I'm just gonna, and I'll interrupt.
Chime in when you need to. Okay, so quick rundown of the fight. First round, Kayla's looking stiff on the feet.
I thought she wasn't looking that bad on the feet.
I thought she wasn't looking that bad.
For being stiff, she was very active.
Yeah.
And not still.
Correct. I think she was winning for sure, but like what that tells me is she hasn't quite, you know how when someone comes from another discipline, right, like a kickboxer, like remember the first time that you saw like Izzy like really stuff a shot or like get up off bottom properly or whatever, and you're like, oh, he's really become a complete martial artist, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was hoping that this was the fight where I'd see her like smooth and loose, you know what I mean?
I don't think you're ever going to see it.
Maybe not, but like let's just
like
put it this way.
in the realm that you're looking for, like that real like smooth, sleek striking. I don't think you're ever going to see that out of her.
Maybe. I think it's, but the thing is, I think it's possible for her, and that's why I kind of like, I don't want to say expected it, but like was hoping for it, I guess. But either way, she definitely was winning. You know, got a late takedown, dominated with ground and pound. Easy round for her. Second round, she keeps trying to hit like two. She's southpaw, right? So throw her left hand and then step through into like a like a knee pick.
Yeah.
Kind of the way that Frank Yeager would do a lot of, right? And it just like wasn't working. First off, do you have some technical analysis as to why? To me, it just looked like she wasn't like driving through enough, and that Viera was just drifting away too much for it to be a viable option.
Yeah, no, nothing that I feel super confident in like putting out there right now, because like just like memory's sake and stuff. Like if we did a breakdown on it, I'm sure I could come up with some like adjustments, but it was a good time for me to jump into what I want to say. There's a difference. So there's fighting not to lose and fighting to win.
Yes.
Right? Like Ketlen Viera was fighting not to lose
the whole time,
right? The entire fight, and it makes it very hard. It's hard to fight somebody who's fighting not to lose, 100%, right? As opposed to fighting to win. Now, that sounds dumb because if you're fighting not to lose, then you would be like, oh, that means you're going. If you don't lose, you win. No, the meaning behind that is like you're trying not to be finished, right? Like, you know what I mean, you're trying not to like
present openings.
Yeah. What you are doing is you're trying to make this a little bit about exchanges, right? Yes. You know what I mean? And that is something that does favor the person who is least skilled.
Yes.
You know, we talked about this when we talked about Hound Dog's fight, right? If you're more skilled in an area, you want more exchanges in that area, right? Odds are in your favor, right? So like, you know, if I'm in a wrestling match against somebody who's a better wrestler than me, I want it to be a one takedown match. You know what I mean? If I can only take you down once out of every 10 times, I only want there to be one takedown in that match, and then hoping that's mine.
Exactly.
Right? If I'm only going to take you down, if there's 10 takedowns, you just took me down 9 times.
Right. Yeah.
I just got smoked. Yeah. Yeah. So like definitely fighting not to lose, and that really like hampered both performances.
I agree. And I, like you said, I think that the second round is the only time we saw any offense out of Viera. She landed an elbow and a head kick. But
yeah, the elbow that.
Yeah,
but she landed that elbow. So it wasn't even offense. It was
it was her like
it was reactionary offense. She was against the cage. Yep. Right, so it wasn't like proactive offense. You know what I mean?
And also, like
it was defensive offense.
We might not even be talking about it had it not have made that little lump. You know
that little
what I mean?
lump.
Like, a lot of people would have missed it. You know. Elbows are weird like that. Sometimes they get like crazy cuts and whatever, and it barely looks like they touched, and sometimes they like crush and don't do any damage. You know what I mean? It's very strange. But anyways, I still had that, 2 rounds for Kayla, and then third round, honestly looked really sloppy until she finally got her takedown about halfway through, ground and pounded it till the end. But at that point, you could see the level of her striking because she had gotten tired, and I was not a huge fan of it. So overall,
well, that being said, we're going to bring her back up later.
Oh, we certainly are. So basically, 30-27, she looked, dominant-ish as much as you can, like you said, against someone who's just trying not to lose. But to be perfectly honest, I was expecting a little bit more out of Harrison. I thought that her stand-up would be a little bit more smooth and have maybe more tools in it, maybe some blitzing patterns to catch someone who's going away from her.
She's only been fighting for 6 years.
Right. It's not a long time, but someone of that athletic caliber, right, who has 2 gold medals in judo, who knows how to move her body, who has 6 years in the sport, I would expect a little bit more, right?
Yeah, but think about that. That's coming from judo, which is, I know nothing about judo. I've never even did a judo practice.
Yeah.
But, especially, in the gi, which is how judo is.
Right. You imagine it's going to be a lot more tense.
Dude, I just feel like every judo athlete is just like a statue. Just like, ugh.
Yeah, but okay, let me give you some counter arguments then. So, Hector Lombard and Caro Parisian.
Yeah.
I think both of them had smoother striking than what Kayla has.
Yeah, okay.
I think
don't
Kayla's
think
capable
either
of
of
that
them.
Point is what I'm getting at.
I think you're looking at them after they've been into MMA for much longer than Kayla. They didn't go judo as long as Kayla.
That's also really true.
You know,
and not as high a level.
Look, Kayla was in the 2016 Olympics. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? She was in the 2012 and 2016 Olympics. Yeah. It's like she was doing judo very seriously.
Right, just
through
judo.
Through the ages that were Caro Parisian and Hector Lombard's prime in MMA.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
No, it's not a super fair comparison. All I'm trying to get at is I think she's capable of, so much. And I
just don't think she needs to smooth out her striking. I just don't think she needs to.
I don't think she needs to. And we'll talk about that later. But I would like to see that,
It's you only have so much money to spend.
Ooh, this is good.
Type of deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And it's I think she's fine. I think she continues to pour it into her strengths.
Interesting. Okay, let me ask you this. All right, so let's divide it into the most basic of categories. We'll have what we'll call striking, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu or whatever. And basically, striking is stand-up, obviously. Wrestling will count as clinching, judo, takedowns and standing up off bottom. And then jiu-jitsu will count as just grappling, and ground and pound as well. We have these 3 categories. You have $2. Where do you put them as a coach?
Wrestling and grappling.
You go wrestling and grappling?
Yeah, I don't touch her striking.
See, I go...
Because you think her grappling's already so good.
I think her grappling is... In that fight, what I saw most dominance in was the grappling. And I think that her, wrestling can be significantly better by making her striking better. So I go striking and wrestling.
Both those dollars in wrestling.
You put them both in wrestling, dude.
Both in wrestling. Because, her grappling was just, very dominant.
Yeah.
Very dominant. No, I would put one in grappling too because I feel like she's just on the cusp of if she gets a takedown, the fight is over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And with her, it's imminent. It's gonna happen. There's gonna be a takedown.
See, I that's the thing I'm not sure about, right? So let's say that she fought, and I know this isn't necessarily in the cards, but let's say she fought Amanda Nunes. Nunes is really, really good at maintaining distance and lands heavy shots, right? So with Kayla's limited striking, she might be getting beat up and not be able to, because what I'm seeing is her shot entries are just blitzes, and if someone moves back more than one step, it's over. You know what I mean? So what I would like to see is her striking get to a level where she has a little bit of offense, can start to cut the cage a little bit, and then blitz in. You know what I mean? And maybe get slightly better at some finishes that are more what we would call wrestling style and less judo style. And her, I think, control on the ground and pound is adequate enough. So in my mind, I would definitely go $1 in the striking, $1 in the wrestling. Let's let the grappling go.
You know what? I can agree with you on that.
I mean, I could see other sides of that, but in my mind, that's what
In
I
the
would do.
landscape in which I see the division right now, which is Amanda Nunes lists,
Right.
I'd spend both those dollars on ice cream cones.
Dude, I was about to say,
Fucking, like,
I was about to say, in the current landscape, we could take $1 away from all of them.
yeah, dude.
She's
Like,
still gonna do what she's
right.
gonna do. Anyways, we're gonna talk about her again. Should we just move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Unless you got anything else to talk about there.
Nope, I'd like to move on.
All right, let's talk about Roman Doldiladze. How do you say that? Doldiladze.
Roman versus Kevin Holland.
Dolidze. That's it.
Dolidze, yeah.
Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. Okay, so going in, I love Kevin Holland. I'm a big
I do
fan.
too.
This
This is up at middleweight. He's ranked at welterweight. He's ranked 15th at welterweight.
Oh, got you. And this fight was at, that's right, middleweight.
Yeah, Roman.
Did he take this on short notice?
I don't know, but Roman's ranked at middleweight.
I'll pull those up in a second. So basically, 1-round fight, right? Holland's piecing him up until Dolidze gets the takedown, and then it's just dominance on the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure how it happened. It looked like he maybe framed weird or something, and then in that scramble, his rib popped somehow. And then this actually takes us to something else here. In between rounds, right? He goes to the corner. He's clearly hurt badly, barely makes it out of the round, and his coach Perez, who I worked with him CSA, he's like, "Hey, Kevin, are you good? Right? Can you fight? Do you want to fight?" He's asking him these questions, and the announcers, I got some beef with the announcers on this one. They're like, "Oh, Perez shouldn't be asking his fighter if he's good. He should be making the call for him." Blah blah blah. But I'm like, what data is he basing this off of? You know what I mean? Can you imagine you and I are in a corner?
Oh yeah.
And someone comes back and
we're like, "Hey, you're done. You hurt your rib," and they're like, "No, I didn't."
Yeah. Or he's like, "Yeah, it popped out. Guess what? It popped back in." Or he's like, "Yeah, it's hurt, but I've got it." You know what I mean? Like we don't know what that is. And then Kevin is being a fighter. He's like, "I want to fight, but it hurts." You can tell he's not going to be able to fight well after this. Yeah. And then Perez makes the right call, right? And the announcers, up until he did call off the fight, were just hating on him. They were like, "Oh, he shouldn't be leaving it in the fighter's hands." I'm like, "No, he did exactly what he should have done. He asked him what he thought. Yeah. He got the data back, and then he made the correct decision off of that." I mean, I assume you agree with that, right? Isn't that how you would have gone about it?
Yeah, 100%. What I can't get, you just want me to make a decision without information,
right?
Right.
Here's the only way I would call a fight without talking to the fighter, an injury wise, is if it was something
mid round,
or it's something that a doctor or ref would have already stopped the fight for. So you have an arm break here and it just folds in half. Well, guess what? I don't need to get the towel in there because the ref already stopped the fight. You know what I mean? Or the doctor, whoever. So in my mind, until you talk to the athlete, you can't stop the fight yet. And also what am I going to do? Am I going to be "Can you fight?" They're not going to tell me. They're not going to be "Nah, dude, I can't." You know what I mean? Unless it was awful. But you have to parse out little bits of information. So I thought that was the right way to do it. But anyways, only other thing I wanted to ask you about before we dive into some of the rankings and such, Dolidze got his black belt after that in cage.
Yeah, I saw that.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's whatever they want to do.
Would you have done that if you were his coach?
No, because right now I just any in-cage promotions that I give, I just have a thing where it has to be off of submission.
Yeah, I'm. Maybe it's just because I'm around you and that's how you do it.
Yeah, but, I'm not
that's
hating
what makes
people who
sense to
don't.
me.
I don't hate on people who don't. It's just not what I would do.
Yeah.
If that's how you want to do it, you should do it however you want to do it. I don't care. I wasn't "Oh, that's dumb" or whatever.
No, I didn't think it was dumb because he did use very good jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if someone goes out and gets a quick knockout and then gets a new belt, what do you think about that? That's when I started to go that's not dumb.
So that's the thing. The fact that he did use jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? I could see okay, so imagine you have someone fighting and maybe I'm ready to give them their promotion, mm-hmm. right? And they out-grapple someone who's a better grappler than them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Maybe they're fighting a jiu-jitsu world champ.
Right.
And they out-grapple them, but they don't submit them, but they out-grapple them. I would if right. I was if I had the belt loaded, I would be "What do you think? Maybe I should." I don't know, but right now just my standard is you get, first off, if you're getting promoted in the cage by me, and I'm assuming by these coaches too, the decision has been made.
Yeah, you were going to get promoted one way or another.
I was bringing, yeah, I have promoted. Have I only promoted one person in the cage? Yeah.
I think so.
I think James Padmore is the only person I promoted in the cage. Yet, I have had belts.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
In the fight kit, in the bucket.
What would you tell someone who would be like, oh, Mike, it's easy for you to say that, but like these guys had the black belt there. They wanted to promote them. They were excited. You know what I mean? Like, what would you say to that?
I would say, I mean, I have done it too. Now, the counter argument I would use against myself here is I've never done it on a UFC pay-per-view.
No, well, correct. Not on.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's actually fair. That's
you know what I mean? Like,
what I was trying to get at is there have been times where you've had the belt in the bucket.
Yeah, I know of. I had it for Brittany. I had it for Lucas.
Yep.
Yeah. And there may be more.
Yeah, but you're right. It is higher stakes. It's a UFC pay-per-view and it's a black belt. So it's like,
yeah,
I'm on board with it now. He used jiu-jitsu and that's a good stage to have it on.
Yeah, you know.
My mind has been changed now. I thought it was whatever, and now I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it would be cooler if it was if it was a submission.
I agree.
But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. And also, Kevin Holland is not exactly easy to submit.
Yeah, but also he's a black belt himself, and
right.
He's very good. But what I was getting at is you know, I had Brittany's purple belt, and I had Lucas's blue belt, bucketed up, and you know, they didn't win by submission. You know, so they ended up getting it later, right? I had Brittany do a gi jiu-jitsu tournament, right? Mm-hmm. And in that gi jiu-jitsu tournament, she beat a good purple belt.
Yeah.
You know, so I gave her purple belt there, right? And then Lucas, I did his at a fight team practice. Mm-hmm. You know, but they were locked and loaded for in case it was by submission. And James is his purple belt that I gave him in the cage after he won his title fight. I wasn't going to give it to him if he didn't win by submission.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That was just how it was. I was like, all right, I'll give it to him on Tuesday.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I'll come to practice. I'll be like, hey, man, come to practice. If you're not training, you know, we'll just take some pictures with your belt, type of thing. And then I would have belted him there.
Right.
You know, the decision was made. You were.
Yeah, you're already
yeah. It's not oh, nope, you're not getting it now.
Yeah, exactly.
You were getting it. It's just where. Yeah.
And you did make a good point with it being the UFC and pay-per-view and all that, so yeah, it makes sense.
And maybe his coach is more advanced than me too. Maybe it's more evolved.
Right.
You know, because maybe 6 years, maybe I'd be willing to do that. But right now,
we'll find out.
Right now, me where I am, having never cornered in the UFC or even, I mean, I'm not even allowed to give out a black belt. So
right.
That tells you how novice I am as being a promoting instructor. Professor.
Maybe in 10 years, someone will pull this clip and be like, "Yo, look at these dudes changing their minds."
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
There's gonna be a lot of evolution.
If that was me right now, I wouldn't do it.
What do you think is next for these guys?
Oh, dude, just nothing worth talking about for me right now. We're gonna move on off that.
Cool.
I got nothing for either of those. I would like to see Kevin Holland go back down to 170.
I agree.
I love Doldiladze. I just you know, I'm gonna get more into the landscape of what's going on, in these, so that way I can have more insight, how we had some decent insight for Wonderboy and Buckley.
Right.
But right now, let's just push
move on. I have one last thing about Holland that I thought was really funny. He mentioned, I saw this on Instagram, so who knows where this came from. He had mentioned something about he likes fighting the bigger guys and he likes fighting better guys too, because he was I just don't have any pressure really. He was if I lose, I just go back to fighting bums. And if I win, I get paid a bunch and whatever. So hey, it's pretty awesome.
Dude, I feel him on that.
Yeah, dude.
I remember that all the time. I'd win a fight, everybody'd be so happy. They'd be like, "What's wrong with you?" I'd be like, "Dude, now my next fight's tougher."
Exactly.
As soon as I wouldn't even get to enjoy, I wouldn't enjoy it at all. I'd win and I'd be like, "Oh shit! Why'd I do that? Why'd I do that? Oh, now I have to fight someone even better."
Oh man.
This guy was already so tough.
And he has that whole BJ Penn laziness vibe, you know what I mean? That, do I think you should do that? No, but is it fun?
Yeah,
sure is. Anyways, yeah, I hope he goes back to 70. Let's jump into Aldo against Bautista.
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, if we wanted to talk about Wonderboy's ability to, like deal with takedowns, how about Aldo?
He's always been like that.
It's unbelievable.
Who's taking him down?
Did Faber take him down at all?
No. I mean, like, maybe he's been taken down, but, like, no. Not that I can recall of. Like, you know what I mean? First off, Mike Brown. That's when
Mike Brown took him down?
No. But Mike Brown is sick, super
Right.
sick ass
It's
fucking MMA
incredible,
wrestler.
yeah.
Right? So a lot of people, I bet you a lot of our audience doesn't even know who Mike Brown is. So
It's crazy. Legendary coach.
well, yeah, you're probably now all like, oh, now that we said coach, he's the head coach for the fighters at American Top Team, Mike Thomas Brown. He's kind of like, he's a smaller guy. He was a featherweight. That was his like primary weight class. He did fight at lightweight, but it was a featherweight. He was the WEC champ. Had the UFC had that weight class during his time, he would be.
It's basically the same thing. Like if you look at like the lineal championship,
yeah,
it goes back to WEC.
Yeah,
in my mind.
Yeah, so would have been a UFC champ had they had that weight class during his era, but they did not. So he was a WEC champ, which was the premier championships for those weight classes at the time. He beat Uriah Faber for the WEC title. So
Twice, I believe, right?
Yes. So that tells you like the level of the competition at that time.
And dominated him, which was like crazy at the
Well,
time.
Uriah Faber broke both his hands in the fight and then fought just
with the elbows. That was nuts.
That was pretty cool.
But even the other one, didn't they fight twice?
Yeah, they did fight twice.
And if he finished him, was it the one where he broke his hands? He finished him?
No, I don't. You know what? I don't know. I'm not recalling.
But either way, like Faber was like the man at the time.
Yeah.
I was shocked when Mike Brown beat him that way.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, so Mike Brown beat him, but Mike Brown ended up losing his WC title to Aldo. And it's weird to think like someone jumped up on your radar when they won the title.
Right, dude.
But like prior to that, I've only seen Aldo like flying knee Cub Swanson.
Right, yeah,
like, you know what I mean? And then like he's fighting Mike Brown for the title, and he just whap, chomping his legs down, takedown defense out of this world.
You know who was a huge Jose Aldo fan at this time?
Yeah.
Kevin.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know what? Good for him.
He was like, bro, have you seen this guy in the WEC?
Dude, you do his voice so well.
Anyone from the gym will be like, oh, that's Kevin.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, dude, like I can't think of anybody who was taking him down. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now that I think about it, I can't think of anyone like in my mind who like definitely took him down.
Like Chad Mendez. Like he's fought real wrestlers.
Yeah. It's nuts. Now, do you think, okay, how much of it is technique and how much of it is his just like insane like personal athleticism and awareness of like his balance and everything?
I'm like definitely very
50-50. Yeah, that's kind of what I think. I mean, you know what I like about all those? He uses a knee shield, which like you normally think of as being kind of like a striking thing. It's like a Muay Thai thing. You might not want to use it in MMA. That's how I think of it. You know what I mean?
Prominent wrestling technique.
Yeah, and I'm seeing it a lot more now, like being used effectively by guys who like I would normally, at least in the past, like I would advise our guys who maybe don't have great wrestling to like not use as much because you don't want to give up that leg. But like we've seen O'Malley use it really well. Aldo, yeah, it's very impressive to me.
Yeah. Maybe because it's slightly harder to use in wrestling because there's no like nothing to lean on.
Yeah.
You know, on the other, nothing to push back with.
Well, my thing is just like, okay, let's say that like you and I are fighting, right? And like you push me up against the cage. To me, to throw a knee shield on just feels so scary because I'm like, oh, you're just going to snatch a single off this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's good defense too. Single leg is a knee shield.
Right.
Especially against the cage. It's a little harder in the open, although it is definitely used, which may be why you don't view it as a wrestling technique, because it is harder in the open because there's nothing on the other side of you, right? So like, what's the knee shield? I'm pushing you away with the knee shield, but like, what am I bracing against to push you away?
Right, and so you need to have like a real good head grip and everything.
Yeah.
But I guess here's what I'm getting at. Like, let's say that you've got a single leg on me. Like, I don't feel like I would go to a knee shield position immediately because all I care about is whichever leg you have, punch that heel to the floor.
Yeah.
And that's somewhere where like I need to learn more about wrestling and how those transitions work and everything.
Well, so I use a knee shield a lot to get my leg to the floor, like to create enough separation so I can
get the hips
can get the leg down to the floor.
Yeah, but anyways, very, very impressive. So he lost. It was what, a split decision, right?
Yep, split decision. He lost.
So I agree. I thought he lost, like, for sure in my mind.
Yep, I love your note here.
What?
Defense doesn't win fights.
Yeah, dude. So,
and,
okay.
Like, I fully agree, right? Like, that's the thing. It's like, well, he defended his takedowns.
So, in those moments,
if I shot on you and you defended the takedown, I'm winning.
Right. And if that continues to happen a whole round, you just won that round, like, easily in my mind.
Yeah, it's like, oh, but the takedown didn't work. Yeah, you just didn't do, like, if that's what happened.
And also, that, if I remember correctly from when we went over the scoring, I think it's in the like notes, is that like the reward for defense is that you didn't get taken down or hit or whatever. The reward for offense is points.
Yes.
Right? And so like this was another one where the announcers were like, oh, I don't know if I agree with that. And I watched a little bit of like the post-fight stuff, and like people were like, yeah, Aldo won that. And I'm like, well, like, how are you seeing that? Like, I don't
know. I mean, it was a competitive fight.
It was close enough, but like for people to be shocked that Aldo didn't win, I'm just like, that doesn't make sense to me. And again, I think that note right there kind of like sums it up. Defense doesn't win fights, and that's really all I have to say about that fight.
Yeah. Now, defense doesn't win fights. Let's not get that twisted. That doesn't mean that you don't need to have defense or defensive movements. It's just that's not scoring your points.
Right. And your defense should then set up your offense. So you defend a takedown, use that. Now you're still standing, throw some strikes. You know what I mean? And he did have good moments there. I think it was in the second round. He started to, that's right. Yeah. He, once he created some separation, started hucking hard, which is the right choice. He started a little slow. That's kind of been an issue for him. His cardio in general has kind of been an issue. Although I don't think his cardio was like that bad, but,
run us to bantamweight rankings.
But overall, I thought that it was just like a clear win for Bautista there. Is this Pennington? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I guess we're gonna dive into what's next. Yeah.
Man, that was a 10 versus an 11. Seeing Jose Aldo ranked 10th like hurts my soul.
Doesn't it?
Look at Dominic Cruz.
I was about to say, what fight makes sense now?
Yeah.
Cruz and Aldo.
That's what I want to see. That.
I think that's the move.
When's the last time Cruz fought? Is he still fighting? I mean, clearly he's ranked, so he must.
Dude, can you imagine that as a retirement fight for both of them?
That would be a sick.
That would be super sick, especially if Aldo just.
What a throwback, dude! And they both came over as WEC champs into the UFC.
Nuts, super nuts. What's next for Bautista?
Oh,
there's a couple of good options here.
Rob Font.
Rob Font has a fight, I think, next 2 weeks, something like that.
What about Cheeto?
Cheeto might make sense, actually. I was looking at Cejudo there, but
no.
Yeah, I agree. I think Cheeto's a better option.
Yeah. Just because I just don't feel like he's on that echelon of like fighting Cejudo.
I don't think he is. Although if there was ever a time to catch Cejudo, I think like now he's starting to decline.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to think like you know what I mean? Like, is his name big enough to get a fight with Cejudo? Cejudo's a huge name.
Right, and especially after like, he won, but it was a close win. It wasn't like particularly exciting.
Right. I feel like Cheeto's
going to make it exciting.
Yeah, and Cheeto is like one name level below Cejudo. So like I feel like he can go, like Cheeto can fight somebody who's not a name.
He can bounce between them, which makes sense too. I mean, like look at his ranking; he's right in between. Like everyone knows the top 6 guys here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then as soon as you get to Cheeto,
Peter, you're on fighting again.
I don't know, but they need to give him an easy one. He's had only hard fights for like 5 years.
Who should he fight?
Although no, that shouldn't.
Figueiredo. I'd like to see him fight Figueiredo.
That would be sick.
Versus Figueiredo. That's what I want to. I want to see.
Ooh, that makes.
That's
sense.
what I want to see.
Yeah. Oh yeah, perfect.
Oh my gosh, go up here. Let's run bantamweight. Yeah. You guys are gonna love this. Okay. All right. So Merab and Umar.
Yep.
All right. O'Malley versus Sandhagen.
Yep.
Jan versus Figueiredo.
Yep.
Right there, dude. That's your top 6.
And then we get.
Or that's your top. Yeah.
Cheeto and Bautista.
That's your top 6 right there, though, because. Right? Yeah. I mean, it takes 6 to make 3 fights, and that's champion.
Yeah.
And then 1 through 5.
Yeah, so that takes care of the top 6 guys, and then just below it, like we said, we could go Cheeto and Bautista. That's a great move. And then
Is anybody signed already? Like, so this is where we need to get better at.
yeah, that I don't know. That I
right,
should...
we don't know that. So that's we're just starting to dive into this type of segment stuff.
Also, we need to make sure we watch this back and see, because like to me, again, this is the fun stuff for us. We got to look at this and see if it's interesting or not. Guys, put in the
Give
comments.
us feedback.
Put in the comments if this is.
This
fun
is
for
what
you.
I want to be doing.
Yeah, looking through.
This is what I
want
to be doing. I want to be giving you guys my opinion on like this stuff. I don't want to always just be like, well, here goes how you get ready for a fight, and here goes.
Yeah.
Here goes
but also
the
at the
order.
same time, we're not gonna memorize the top 10 before this. You know what I mean? Like, we need to discover this.
Yeah, but like right now, like the more we do this.
Oh yeah, we'll have a much better understanding.
Yeah, and like, you know, then I'll be more up on like, all right, well, you know, Sandhagen is fighting, blah blah blah.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So like we'll know like people are already signed and probably have notes to reflect that. But we're at the beginning of this type of stuff. All right, so yeah, that's cool. I love it. Anything else to say about the Aldo Bautista fight?
No, just that I hope that Aldo gets like an appropriate fight, which I think that Cruz would be a great one. In fact, I think he beats Cruz and then retire and be done. He's what, almost 40?
Yeah. Oh, here goes an interesting segment or thing. So Aldo was listed at 37, I think.
Years
Can you
old?
click on his thing? Click on him.
Where is he?
Down, right there. Does it have his age?
Huh. I don't know.
Scroll up. No.
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, whatever. So Aldo was listed at like 37 or 30. Yeah, I think he was listed at 37, and Gilbert Burns was like, "What?"
Yeah, he's like.
You see that?
Yeah, where he was like, he was 5 years older than me.
No, yeah, he was like, when I was 18 in the blue belt, he was a 20-year-old purple belt.
Yeah.
Now I'm older than him. Right? Like, yeah, Gilbert Burns was like, yeah,
He caught up.
I was an 18-year-old blue belt, and Jose Aldo was a 20-year-old purple belt. It was like, now I'm 38 and he's 37. It was crazy because Jose Aldo only aged 17 years, and the time that I aged 20. Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean?
I mean, there are certain things like Yoel Romero. People talk about. They're like, is he actually that old? You know what I mean? Is he older? Is he younger? You know, like
Yoel Romero was listed as old.
Right, I know, but like.
And, like, you know, he was in, like, the 2004 Olympic final and, like, won the 2003 World
Right, but
Championship. Like, you know,
but what if they say he's, like, whatever he is, 43 or whatever.
Yeah.
What if he's actually, like, 46? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, maybe. Well, I think that's what they were saying about Jose Aldo. Is like, the birth records from wherever he was, like...
A little screwy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, let's move on. Let's move on to the Pennington Pena women's bantamweight championship fight.
Okay, I don't have a ton to talk about, other than the fact that, and I hate to say it, I'm not trying to be a hater here. I have nothing personal against either of these fighters, but it was just a low level fight, especially for a championship fight.
It was a low level fight,
and like I don't like to see that. I think that's bad for the sport.
I don't like to see it too because it's bad for the division and it's the heaviest division. This is one thing that I've really dislike about women's combat sports. Right now, heavyweight. What is heavyweight for men? 265.
Right, yeah,
it's 265,
above
right?
206 to 265.
Yeah, it's titled heavyweight, right? So they use the same names for the weights as the men. So, 135 for women is women's bantamweight, right? Which is weird because I don't think other combat sports do that.
Is that the case? I don't know. How does boxing do it? Do you know?
I don't know how boxing does it, but jiu-jitsu certainly doesn't, right? Jiu-jitsu, okay, for example, medium heavyweight, which is my jiu-jitsu weight class, is 100 for nogi. Talking nogi here, 188.6 is the weight class. For women, medium heavyweight is 158.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
So they take the names and they adjust it based off the bell curve.
Yeah, they adjust it. Also, same with youth, right?
Right.
For juvenile, which is 17 and 16 and 17-year-olds, right? They have the same names, but medium heavy is 170 something. You know what I mean? So they adjust the names to accommodate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
And I just do not like that the largest women's weight class is 135 pounds.
Dude, yeah. Especially when we get and I don't want to hop on this too early, but Kayla coming from 155.
Yeah.
If you look at in the PFL, they had Clarissa Shields fighting at whatever. She just
The
won
girl
a heavyweight championship.
The
at
girl
like
who
170
beat
something.
Kayla Harrison, Pashenko.
Right. Yeah.
She's a 45er. Cyborg was a 45er.
Yep.
You know, the 45 division.
The lioness herself.
Off. Who?
Amanda Nunes.
Well, she's a 35er.
Yeah, I know, but like I think 45 is where she, like, I think that's where she would want to be, probably. Maybe not. I don't know.
Whatever. But yeah, it's just like it's like, yo, you're telling me 135 pounds is the heaviest women's weight class. Like, that's just crazy to me. Wow. I actually hate it for women's freestyle wrestling, right? Like, the heaviest weight class is 76 kilos, which is like 167 pounds. Right. That's heavyweight?
Yeah, dude.
That's heavyweight? You know? And then you got girls who are wrestling in like high school and college, heavier weight classes than that, and it's just like, oh yeah, well,
you're burnt.
You're burnt.
Yeah.
You know?
Sucks.
Especially with, like, you know, people are just getting bigger.
Yeah.
You know? Like, for example, in wrestling, the current lightest men's weight class is 57 kilos, right? Which comes out to be 125 pounds. Dude, just as, like, recently as, like, 2000 or 1996, there was 50 kilos, which is 110.
Right, yeah.
Like, in the 80s, there was, like, 48 kilo.
Yeah.
Which, you know, was, like, a 102 or something like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just like, yeah, the lightest weight class has been moving up progressively over the years. And I will be shocked if, for the 2025 World Championships, if the weight classes aren't moved. They usually take a look at weight class, they look at things in wrestling in quads because of stupid Olympics. Yeah. I hate the Olympics. So they look at things in wrestling in quads, so they make all the changes like right after the Olympics.
Right.
So like they'll be like, okay, for the next 4 years, these are the weight classes, and those weight classes will typically stay for like 8 to 12 years.
Right.
But like, yeah, like an adjustment always comes right after an Olympic Games.
Yeah. Man.
And there's a big push for that 57 kilo.
Up
to 60.
Yeah.
Up to 60. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, for this particular situation.
Oh, but this is why I hate it. Okay.
Right.
The whole reason why I hate it is like they're basically giving it's basically the example that, like, you know, it's like, hey, like, is the skill level was low. It at least looked low. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, like, you got to find the bell curve. And it's not just the bell curve of women mixed martial artists. It's the bell curve of elite women mixed martial artists. Yep. And, you know, I would say, like, obviously 115 and 125 are a level above.
Yeah, they are. This was just, like, not
currently
great.
What 135 is.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about that, though? So, like, you know what? Like, so, like, obviously, like, women's MMA is, like, a few decades behind men's just because, like, you know, it got a later start. But when you think of, like, the old school days of the UFC, like when weight classes were a thing, like what was like the premier weight class?
Wait, what do you mean? What era? Like
late 2000s.
Late 2000s.
Like 05 to 12, premier weight class.
Oh, light heavyweight, middleweight.
205.
Yeah.
205 without a doubt. Not even close. Not even close. You're talking Lyoto Machida, Shogun, John Jones.
Yep.
Forrest Griffin, Rashad Evans, Rampage Jackson. You know what I mean?
Before like, that, Tito,
Randy.
They paved the way.
Vitor Belfort.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, literally, just like...
That was
the weight class.
Yeah.
It was the premier weight class. And now, what's the premier weight class?
55,
35,
70. Maybe.
Yeah. Like, but like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
the bell curve definitely.
Yeah, towards the bell
applies.
curve of elite mixed martial artists. You know. Yeah. So like, it's almost like, okay, let's look at women's MMA. All right, what was the premier weight class in women's MMA history? 135.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey, Amanda Nunes, Miesha Tate, Holly Holm. You know, the premier weight. Like, those were the household names. You know, and now but we see it with the men's too. Like 205, like as we'll be talking about coming up, is not the 205 that we grew up with.
Not.
No, it is not.
So, well, I guess to dive into the fight a little bit, like what I saw basically is we saw a lot of we were talking about blitzing patterns with Buckley, right? We saw Pennington use like a jab switch, step through back into the stance she started in, like throwing that too, you know, as her blitzing pattern. which again is something I've been working with the fighters on. But like extending that out and whatever, it doesn't matter. But what she did is she would only hit that and then stop and do nothing else. So one, she could have kept striking, which would have been sick, or two, disengage. So a lot of times she would hit that, pow, pow, and then she would just stop there. Got a little excited there. And then she would just like stop, and then she would get countered. And I'm like, this is so like dude, you can walk into any boxing gym in the U.S. and you can have like a crappy boxing coach, and even that guy will be like, don't stand there. You know what I mean? Like disengage. So there was no disengagement game. That really bothered me. Yeah, we don't have to talk much else about like techniques and such in the fight, but how did you score it?
I had Pennington winning 3-2.
Me too. I had her winning 1-4 and 5. Now,
same.
Granted, by the end of the fight, I was like, I didn't really lock round 1 into my head, so maybe that one was closer than I remembered. But in my mind, Pennington won.
And the way they were talking, like everybody was talking, like it's 2-2 going into the 5th.
Right.
So like that, like, you know.
Yeah, that cements it in your head where like that's actually what it is. And again, I don't want to just trust the announcers because like they're kind of crazy, but I do think that Pennington won that. But also, I thought it was close enough that like
certainly close, and it was a split.
Yeah. It was close enough that I wasn't like, oh, what? And also I just like I don't care about that fight enough, unfortunately, which is a bummer. But let's talk about what's next in this division.
What's next in this division is Kayla Harrison's going to take that strap, and then they're going to need to figure out a way to develop a challenger.
So Pena was doing everything in her power
to not
talk about Kayla Harrison.
Amanda Nunes, and like I'm like, dude, wait till you watch this back and see how they have Kayla bigger than you right now on the TV. Yep. Right now they got you here, and you're like waist up. Kayla is like
the main event.
Yeah. Like,
and also what bothers me about, dude, I'm pretty sure I saw a stat that she hadn't beaten, and like this was like, I don't know, months ago, maybe even a year ago. She hadn't beaten anyone who was currently in the UFC in like 3 years or something like that. Like she's not the most skilled, like whatever, it doesn't matter, but like that kind of bothers me, and I am excited to see Kayla like just go and crush her, and then we can get like a real athlete on top of that division. And then like you said, who's gonna come and be the challenger? Actually, here, you want to take a look at the rankings real quick?
Yeah, pull them up.
One
more down, one down, right there.
Oops. Technical difficulties.
There we go.
Maybe Dumont.
Dude.
Holly Holm's a little too old at this point.
Chasson. She just fought Holly Holm. That was her debut fight.
Oh, you know who's on the way up? Perez.
God. Save me.
Tell me how you really feel.
Get me out. Yeah, actually, give her Perez right off the rip. That's what I want to see.
She needs one more win at least to start cranking up the rankings. Or who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, dude, does Miesha Tate even fight anymore? Like, I don't know half of these ladies.
Yeah, I'm on a struggle. I know, go down a little bit. Myra Silva. Click on her. I just want to make sure I have the right person in my head. Nope. Thought she was somebody else. Never mind. All right, move on. Out of this division.
Nothing to say about that. All right. Let's talk main event.
Let's talk it.
All right.
Man, I loved it.
Dude, I loved it. Okay, so first off, I loved the matchmaking. I loved everything about. I was excited for this fight. Right?
I was excited for this fight too, and I was so impressed by both of them.
Yes,
it's just a good fight,
dude. Great fight. Also, like
no losers
going into it, which was great because going into it, who did you want to win?
I wanted Alex to win.
See, for me, I was leaning Alex, but I really like Khalil.
You know I do really like Khalil, but you know what's funny? Like why I want Alex to win is like, because I feel like I'm closer to him. Because I've been in the room with him twice.
Yeah, dude. I felt the same way.
I'm like, that's my boy. I'm like, oh, really? Why? Well, because I stood in the same room he was in 2 times.
Yeah, because I got scared standing around him a couple times.
Yeah. I was sitting in a chair like 14 feet away from him, so yeah, that's why. That's so crazy.
Because his buddy said something nice to us.
Oh yeah,
or our fighters, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is exactly why I wasn't gonna say that. But
so funny.
But I also really like Khalil, dude. He's a singer in a hardcore band. You know, I'm a fan of that.
Oh yeah.
he just seems like a really cool guy. I like his story.
I remember him on The Ultimate Fighter. I've liked him since, like, I've heard of him from.
Yeah, dude, he's shot 0 takedowns in the UFC, which, despite the fact I don't think that's how you should fight necessarily, that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? He has some insane finishes. So yeah, like going in the match itself, I was like really fired up for.
I like his coach too, John Wood.
I don't know anything about him.
He runs Syndicate.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. All right.
I like him.
Me too.
I watch him coach, and I'm like,
I don't know much about them, but clearly they're doing a good job.
Yes.
So, dude, walkout itself, so sick, right?
I didn't see the walkouts.
Oh, you went straight to the...
Yeah, so I bought the pay-per-view after it was over.
Yeah.
So you can just click the fight. Like,
Okay.
you know what I mean? You don't have to, like, watch it.
Dude, especially when we were watching live, that walkout. Dude, Khalil's in the cage. He's coming out. Dude, I mean, it's the same walkout he does every time. You know what it is. He's doing his boom, boom. Oh! Like, dude, it's so sick. And then when they actually get in the cage, dude, totally still, just staring at each other for like 2 minutes straight while they're doing all the announcements and stuff. And, just stone-faced. And then a little bit into it, Khalil starts bouncing a little bit, and I was like, oh, Alex won the stare down, because he was completely still. And then eventually he started like moving around, but like it wasn't like a nervous like and Khalil had that a little bit, and I was like, dude, this is so intense. And it just goes to show you like how much Alex has, just whatever that thing is that allows you to just like not be affected by nerves in the same way other people are.
Yeah.
So like already super fired up. Dude, this one we should break down round by round a little bit.
Run
I
it,
think.
dude.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So round one, the story in my mind. There's two stories.
I had Rountree round 1 and 2.
Me too. Although I did think, where was it? I think one of them was closer. That's right. Yeah, I think that
round one
was a little bit close, and I could see it going to Alex, but I also had it for Khalil.
Yeah.
But I think the story of round one was two things. One, it was speed versus power. And two, it was punching and kicking against just punching.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I was kind of shocked that Khalil wasn't kicking more, because he does kick well. But his speed was like really impressive. Really, really impressive. Do you have anything else to add about round one?
Uh-uh.
All right. Yeah. So I thought that was a close round again. I probably would have given it to Khalil. Round two, Khalil starting hot. Poaton's building some momentum until he throws that head kick, which I have a lot to talk about that head kick. Then he gets hit, eats that big head kick at the end, clearly around for Khalil. It's probably 2-0 at this point, right? Now, that head kick, that was a big... Okay, so the reason that head kick didn't land is because it whiffed high, right?
Right.
And I think Khalil dipped down a little bit, but like he definitely missed high. So if you follow enough like striking breakdown stuff on like social media, everyone talks about like, oh, Poaton's got the best low kick. He doesn't turn his hips, blah, blah, blah. Like he's the first person to do that and rely on weight shift and whatever. And there are advantages to that, right? Like every technique and every variation of technique has advantages and disadvantages, right?
Right, yeah.
So everyone only talks about the advantages of kicking like that. They're like, he doesn't turn his hips. It's hard to see, blah, 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 this, that, whatever. But also the reason why, and like calf kicks too, like people only talk about the advantages. The reason why we see leg breaks from calf kicks especially is because people don't know how to calf kick properly, and they don't turn their hips. They rely on that weight shift, which again is an end of the spectrum of weight, how you could like throw a low kick. You could turn it all the way over, or on the other side, you could not turn it all the way over and focus more on like that, weight shift and less on like the turning of the hips, right? And again, neither one's better than the other. They just have pros and cons. One of the cons to not turning it over is it's harder to, arc it down. And ideally, if you catch someone like in the neck or head, I think Shane Faison said this, is that like you try to take their head to the mat, right? That would be like really ideal, right? But that requires a lot of hip turnover. Maybe you're not in a position to do that. Maybe you need to get faster or whatever. Something I hate on MMA fighters for doing a lot is throwing kicks like straight up, which again, if someone dips their head into it, you can get knockouts like that. Like that happens relatively regularly. But if someone doesn't dip into it, it's just slapping. And like especially if it doesn't hit the hands at all, like it does literally nothing. And this is one of those times where that was a detriment. Had he have turned that over more, maybe it would have gotten a little bit lower. Maybe it would have actually clipped him. Maybe it would have knocked him off balance, so Khalil couldn't have thrown that counter strike. And I don't think that we talk about that enough. In fact, I didn't hear anyone talking about that. This is an LTYC exclusive, is that right there, that is the downside to not turning your hips, right?
Yeah.
Is that, you whiff on high kicks sometimes. There are other downsides, but like that is one of them. I don't know, man. That's all I got.
Is it worth it? That might be worth it, though.
Yeah.
The upsides seem pretty upsidey.
For sure. And also, in MMA, it makes a lot of sense for you to be, like, dipping your head out of the way, you know what I mean? More so than maybe in, like, Muay Thai or kickboxing. So, yeah, I think it does make a lot of sense. And I think there are a lot of pros to it, you know what I mean? If he didn't spin all the way through, it does make it easier to retract that kick if you don't, like, get a full hip turnover, you know what I mean? So, again, there are pros to it. I don't want to be like, that was a dumb decision, because I'm not saying that it was necessarily. I'm just saying that right there is a good example of the cons of using that type of technique as opposed to, like, full hip turnover. So, striking nerdiness out of the way.
Love it.
That takes us through round 2.
That's what we're here for.
That's what some people are here for. So that takes us to round 3. So it starts kind of even. Poaton starts running away using his pressure, right? Pretty clear round for him.
Yeah, he's getting a beat on him.
He's figuring out that timing. And especially as the slower fighter, he needs to have the timing down, right? And then that takes us to round 4, where he just keeps pressuring him, puts it on him, eventually puts him away. Now, what I think really makes round 4 interesting, and I'm glad you said timing, what he figured out really, really well is when Khalil was throwing back. So what we saw is he goes in.
Dude, it was beautiful.
He throws first.
It was amazing. Bump, bump.
He gets countered.
Bump, bump.
Exactly. Pulls just barely out of range, and then counters the counter, right?
He made it look so easy, too.
So easy.
I was like, man, I should come back and do that.
Because he was doing that so well, it allowed him to pressure with his hands down and at that full range. You know what I mean? And that's another thing that people talk about is like, oh, you got up your hands higher, he still gets hit. It's like, yeah, but do you think that maybe if he had his hands glued up to his head like this, he might not see the counters as well? You know what I mean? Like, that's an important part of his style. You know what I mean? So again, to all the technique nerds out there who are like, his hands are too low. No, they're not. Sometimes it's good to have your hands down. This is a good example of when.
Yeah.
But again, he was able to pressure with it. A lot of people think of counter striking as like Wonderboy style. You're moving away. You've got to catch him at that one time. No. You can pressure with counter striking. You know what I mean? Now, you might need to be like Alex and throw first as well as countering. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe we don't want to call it countering. It doesn't matter. But I thought that was really, really beautiful the way he did that. And like you said, he'd gotten that timing down. He knew when Khalil was going to throw back. And just, crazy, heart from Khalil, awesome finish. He wasn't hurting him enough upstairs. He went downstairs with those 2 big body shots and then finished him off shortly after that. I mean, just like absolutely incredible on both sides. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I thought, like I was saying, the first thing I said is he picked up a beat on him. And you don't want to, obviously, with some earlier remarks about the commentators, you don't want to rely on their commentary, but you can pick things up off their commentary. And one thing that was suggested was that Alex had difficulties with southpaws in his kickboxing career, right? And with Khalil being a southpaw, took a little longer for him to pick up that timing and stuff with the open stance. We see that quite often, especially like during my era. Being a southpaw was like crazy advantage.
Yeah.
And the advantage wasn't necessarily like, oh, because I'm a southpaw and it's open stance. No, every advantage I have as a southpaw, you have as an orthodox fighter. The advantage was everybody was orthodox and I was southpaw.
Yep.
Therefore, every sparring session, I sparred orthodox guys as a southpaw. And every sparring session, you sparred orthodox guys as an orthodox. And then it was time for you to sign that fight against me as southpaw, and you had to go search for some southpaw rounds.
Yep.
Meanwhile, I've been spending the last 12 years fighting orthodox guys.
Yep.
And you're trying to make up that 12 years in 6 weeks.
Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Now,
also, hold on. Something else I want to talk about that you did
southpaws are more
with
common
your career.
Nowadays. Yeah.
Dude, this was genius. Every time Mike would have like a stare down or weigh-in picture, even sometimes the start of a fight.
Ooh.
No?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know.
I'll cut it.
Just because our guys might use it.
And we're back. So, Mike had a lot of advantages being a southpaw. He, was used to fighting orthodox guys.
Well, actually, no, because everybody switches stances now. You can go ahead. Literally, we don't have anybody. Do we have anybody who doesn't switch?
All right, so what Mike used to do was he would stand orthodox at the face-off, right?
Every single face-off.
So then
I stood orthodox.
This dude's got 24 hours where he's like, wait a minute, is that guy actually orthodox? Like, I thought he was prepared for southpaw. You know what I mean? And like most people, especially if they did some research and watched one of your other face-offs, and be like, I know he just stands ortho. You know what I mean?
I had a coach ask me. I had a coach after weigh-ins ask me.
Who?
Bob Topinski's coach. After weigh-ins, it was my second pro fight, and this was like I was coming off my second pro fight, so obviously just coming off my amateur career, and Bob and I were like coming up as amateurs, so like we fought in the same like organizations as amateurs and stuff. So like everybody's very like I was very familiar with his coach Brian, Brian Pfeiffer, and all this stuff. And after weigh-ins, he goes, "Mikey, you orthodox now?" And I just had a big smile, and he's like, "Okay." Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're at a point where we can talk about that stuff because we don't really play those games anymore.
Yeah, no. It wasn't even like it didn't matter. It was just a fun thing.
Well, it does matter though because let's say that it's just slightly in that guy's head.
Yeah, I mean it's just a way to like bring up anxiety.
Yeah,
between weigh-ins and the fight to bring up some anxiety,
which is important.
Yeah.
And, maybe in like 10 years we'll talk about the stuff we do now. Yeah, it'll be cool. But
yeah, I mean, because we should be evolving anyhow, so it doesn't matter. All right, so I mean, basically, like maybe it just took him a little bit to catch that, but like once he got his ball rolling, dude, it was
downhill.
You knew,
yeah.
It was like there's a level of difference. How much of like a cardio do you think came into effect?
They both got tired. But like, and Khalil, I think got maybe a little more tired, but it's hard to tell if that's because he was getting beat up. You know what I mean?
So I think like cardiovascularly, and now you would know more about this than I would, but like, they both got tired.
Say what you're gonna say, and then I'll explain why I wouldn't know more.
But nervous system wise, I would say that Khalil had to deal with a lot more, as he was a little more twitchy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've heard that, I've heard from several people, not personally to me, through like, obviously like hearing it on like podcasts and interviews and stuff, about how exhausting it is to fight Wonderboy because you're always
right. Yeah.
You're always like, so your nervous system is constantly under attack. You're on red alert. Like,
right.
You never get into like a rhythm.
You don't get those little micro breaks in between. I 100% agree with that. And the point I was going to make about, you were like, oh, you'll know more about cardio. Maybe I understand like some of the physiology of it, and this is actually an important topic too. I'm not going to go too off on a tangent here, but what we call cardio in a fight isn't actually just like the physiological cardio, right? If you took everyone's VO2 max, which is a good indication of someone's actual cardiovascular like abilities, essentially, you're going to see guys who have insane cardio who don't have like crazy VO2 maxes, and you're going to see guys who have like what we would look at as not great cardio who do have like higher VO2 maxes, and you're going to see everyone in the UFC has good enough VO2 max, right? What we call cardio is a myriad of like factors, right? One of them being VO2 max, right? Like if you take someone who's 350 pounds, never worked out a day in their life, smoke cigarettes, like their VO2 max is going to suck and they'll never have good fight cardio, right? But then there's other things too, right? We're about to talk about Poaton potentially being sick and all that. Sickness, just like general health stuff. Even if your VO2 max is high, if you're sick, doesn't matter, right? Injury plays a role as well. How scared you are. So Poaton, like I said, he's just like stoic, and like I'm sure he feels nerves and things, but like he clearly has like the nervous system to deal with those moments, where someone like me, I don't, and I would freak out. Oh, that made me way more tired. You know what I mean? Also the damage you take in the fight. You know what I mean? Like you said, how much you're contracting and relaxing in that fight. If you, let's say that every second you contract because someone threw something at you and you flinch, whereas another fight you did the same thing but someone wasn't doing that and it was once every 2 seconds, you're getting twice as many of those twitches. And let's say that those twitches account for 10% of your cardio. Now you're whatever percentage overall, worse or better. You know what I mean? And there's other factors that go into it as well. But like what we think of as cardio isn't just like, oh, that dude should have run more, he should have done this. Maybe he needs to get more comfortable in certain positions. You know what I mean? Maybe he needs to do X, Y, and Z, whatever. It's a multifaceted thing. But let's dive into injuries and some issues that Poaton went into this with. Did you hear about all this?
I know nothing.
Okay, so in between rounds he was coughing. Apparently he was on antibiotics because he like was sick. And apparently he also had a rib injury, and I want to say a toe injury or a knee injury or something like that. So like he was banged up going into this fight. Apparently he only got 3 real weeks of training.
Dang.
Isn't that crazy?
I couldn't imagine. Yeah, no, that's crazy.
So that's pretty cool. Then I have this up here actually. Have you seen this?
No.
Read that out loud.
Wow. Alex set a new record for shortest time between 3 UFC title defenses at 175 days. Ronda Rousey had the previous record at 189.
That's nuts. You know what I mean? And think about this too, right? So
175 days, dude. That's less than 6 months.
Dude, and think about it. Like he's fought some like pretty good dudes in that
That's right, because him and who'd he fight Jiri on the card that was supposed to be McGregor Chandler.
Mm-hmm. He steps up short notice, like 2 weeks or something. You know what I mean? So he wins it against, who did he win it against? He didn't win it against Jiri, did he?
I don't know.
Okay, Rountree. I believe the fight before that was Jiri.
Yeah, it was Jiri, because Jiri was like, "Don't use the black magic," and stuff.
And that's right. And his first fight at 205 was Jan, but that wasn't for the title, right? Who did he get the title from?
First off, you're gonna have to run this back because he had 3 defenses. That means he's had he won the title and defended it 3 times.
Actually, well, look at us. Look at us. We have access to this.
Look at us. Look at us. Would you just look at us? Oh, he beat Jamal Hill.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
But is that a defense?
So here, we got it all right here. We got it all. If it loads.
Because Jamal Hill did relinquish the title with his injury. Because I was like, wasn't that interim versus?
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So those are the 3, and then he won it off of Blachowicz for a vacant title.
I want to say he's not, and we should know this because I'm clicking load more, but the more fights aren't loading, so I don't know what else to do here. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. Point is, these are his 3 fights though.
Those are the 3 defenses.
Like that's nuts.
April 13th, June 29th, and October 5th.
Like, dude, how nuts is that?
Did he not fight Jan Blachowicz for the vacant title?
Might have. I don't know. It's not loading, but I want to get back to the rankings because that's going to be important in a minute here.
All right, that's fine.
But dude, isn't that record nuts?
Yeah, dude. He definitely click on Jan Blachowicz. Click on him. Click on him. Click on him. Click on him. Yeah, now go down. Bam.
Yep.
There it is.
Okay.
On when was that? What's that say? July?
Yep. 23.
Okay, so he won the title in July, then he defended it in April, June, and October.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's nuts.
That is nuts.
Dude, and I think this is important too. We saw an era where guys were like, especially guys who like win a championship, they fight a lot less. And then we see some like meteoric rises, like Alex, Izzy, O'Malley to a degree, guys who are fighting like really, really regularly. I think that's important for a couple of reasons. I think one, if you want to start setting records and like get defenses and stuff, like you got to start going. You know what I mean? And if you're at a lighter weight class, especially, like age is not helping you out. You know. And the other thing is that allows for these meteoric rises. Like Pereira has what, like 7, 8 UFC fights or something like that, right? Yeah. And like the majority of them 4 championships. You only get this.
And he was the 85-pound champ.
Exactly.
And he fought, so he won it. Did he ever defend it? 185-pound champ. He beat Izzy, and then did they just immediately rematch and he lost?
That might have been it. But that's what I was gonna say.
So we know he's been in at least 6 UFC title fights.
Yeah, his only loss in the UFC is against one of the greatest welterweights of all time, or middleweights of all time. You know what I mean? Like, it's just nuts what he's done, and especially doing that while he's sick and everything.
Let's talk. Do you mind if I talk about like fighting, like my opinion on this?
Brother, that's what this podcast is for.
So I think it's kind of smart for champs to be like, all right, I'm the champ, like, let's fight.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because here goes the thing, like, all right, you got to weigh the things. Like, okay, obviously, like, you're probably in this right now to make the most money possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you're like, okay, well, if I hold on to the belt, maybe I can do a bunch of, like, appearances, promos with the belt, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're making most of your money from your pay-per-view, from your actual fight, from the actual fight, not what the publicity of the fight gave you, well, then You want to strike while the iron's hot.
Yep.
Now here goes the thing. Here goes a beef that, not a beef, but here goes a way to look at like seasonal sports with seasons versus a combat sport like MMA where there is no season. It's always in season. All right. If, let's say, scroll down the rankings for...
We're getting crazy.
We're hitting tables, elbowing shit. All right. Let's say, for example, that this dude right here, Azmat Murkazanov.
Okay.
Right? Let's say he's actually the best in the world.
Right.
This dude is actually, we don't know this, but for an example, he's actually the best in the world, right? He is the best fighter in the entire world in 2025. We won't know because he won't be able to make his way up to that title.
Right.
Right? It's going to take him longer than a year, right? However, if he was the best wrestler in the world in 2025, he would win the 2025 World Championships.
Right.
And then if he wasn't the best wrestler anymore, well, then he wouldn't win the 2026, but he would have been a world champion.
100%.
You know what I mean? So when a fighter is at their exact peak, the best that they're ever going to be, it also has to align with when they are champion.
Yes.
Right? So like right now, if you're like, hey, Alex Pereira is at his peak, right? It's all going to be going downhill. He needs to be fighting as much as he can right now.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I think we're going to see that happen more too as like time goes on, or at least for the next like era or whatever. Did you see Jamal Hill's reaction?
I didn't.
Okay,
I'm super. I see it on your notes. I'm super curious to hear what it is.
So he's in the crowd and they show him like yawning. But dude, I'm not exaggerating. This is what he does. He goes like that's his yawn. And like I get what he's trying to do, but dude, it looked like he was like trying to like lick like some ice cream out of the bottom of a bowl or something. Like, dude, he was just like it looks so stupid. And Alex says back to him, he goes, "Oh, maybe he's just waking up from 300."
Yo!
Bars. So I thought that was ridiculous of Jamal to do that. I thought it looked stupid, and I thought like, yo, don't like. First, don't say it was a boring fight because objectively it wasn't. And also, why are you over here talking?
Click on Jamal for me.
Like,
I'm sure he hasn't fought, right? Since...
No way. Yeah.
Okay.
No. So, like, I thought that was really stupid of him to do. So, like, dude, what's next for Pereira?
I think oh my goodness. I think unfortunately he's got a. Does Ankalaev have a fight?
I think Ankalaev is fighting
Rakic, whatever.
I believe that is what's happening.
Right.
I'm not sure.
I unfortunately think that literally. So if you look at the rankings, if you look at the contenders, you know, I think every single one of them needs to win before getting a title fight.
I think Ozdemir just recently won.
Go ahead, click him.
Yeah, I believe.
Volkan Ozdemir.
Yeah, that's right. He knocked out Johnny Walker.
Yeah. What's that next to it though?
Right here,
that's his next fight. He's got to fight.
Oh, he's fighting Olberg, dude. That's a good fight.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Like, pull those rankings back up. So here goes what we're looking at. On the contenders list, in order, we have Yuri Prochazka, Ankalaev, Jamal Hill, Jan Blachowicz, Alexander Rakic, and Volkan Ozdemir, right? Those are the
top five.
The top five, yeah. Well, those are the top six contenders. Right. Top six contenders. Ozdemir has a fight. Rakic, go to Rakic, go down. He is fighting.
Oh, he's fighting Yuri.
He's fighting Ankalaev.
Yeah, Ankalaev. Okay.
Okay, that's a number one contenders fight.
Yes.
I think the winner of that, but they fight at the end of October. That's soon. I think the winner of that would present themselves as the next title challenger if you want to be like...
Right, by the book.
By the book, like earning it and stuff. It can't be Yuri because Yuri's coming off of a loss to Alex. Jamal Hill's coming off a loss to Alex. But a way to sway that, slightly controversial. And why are they putting him on camera yawning? Like, was that on the pay-per-view on camera?
I think so. I don't remember.
They could push that right now. If I was Alex, I would...
He said he wants to take a little time, heal up.
Wants to take a little time, heal up. Then he's going to let Ankalaev and Rakic fight and he's going to fight the winner of that.
I think that's what's going to happen.
If I were him, I would try to snag Jamal Hill again in the interim.
That would be a good call. Also, Ankalaev could present problems if he shoots. Everyone thinks that he's a wrestler.
He's a striker.
He's a striker, yeah. And I think he would strike most of the time. But if he shoots, I think that could pose problems.
Here goes another thing to talk rankings. So that was just Khalil Rountree versus Alex.
Right.
Khalil was ranked 8th. Mm-hmm. Alex champion, which, let's put that into perspective. That's a 1 versus 9.
Right.
Right? Because they're throwing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the lowest ranked fighter we've ever seen fight for a belt?
Khalil.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
Before him, who was it? Was it TJ Dillashaw? Was he 7th?
I don't know.
When he beat Henan Barrow?
That sounds right now that you say it, but I don't know.
And then, like, when did rankings even start? Like, you know what I mean?
Dude, I couldn't tell you.
But that's interesting.
But so I was kind of pointing to this. What I think is interesting is Olberg. I think if he wins, he presents a really interesting...
Versus Ozdemir.
Yeah. And I think he will beat Ozdemir. Ozdemir's a
yeah, but you have 2 versus 5 right now. And
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I think that's definitely the next fight. But let's say that like that goes through, or someone gets injured, whatever. If Olberg wins and Pereira is still on top, that's a really interesting matchup. Olberg he's Izzy's teammate. He's really big. He's like 6'4", devastating striker. That's a very interesting matchup in my mind. Dude, honestly, Rakic, like, he's good too. You know what I mean? Like, if he wins, that presents a pretty fun fight there. And to be honest with you, I think it would be a one-side beating. But Ozdemir, if he fights Pereira, that would be a very fun fight because Ozdemir is just like heavy boxing. And boy, you don't want to be getting into those boxing exchanges with Pereira. But you know what I really think? If I was Alex, right? If I was Alex's coach, his whatever, you know what I would be saying he should do? One of these guys. Go up to heavyweight.
No.
Dude, he's like 230.
Dude, he was talking about going back to 185 and fighting Drakus.
He was. But don't do that. Don't do that, right? Don't get in your boy Strickland's way. Go up here because check it out. The only people who I think, like, I don't think you should take that fight if I was advising him, Jones and Aspinall. Like, everyone else, can you tell me, like, what's a bad matchup for him? Maybe if some of these guys are going to shoot
Stipe
on him.
is 8?
That's nutty.
Is it because he hasn't
It makes
fought
sense. Yeah, that
since
actually makes sense.
pre-COVID?
But dude, can you imagine? Okay, here's a good one for you. Imagine Alex and Volkov.
I just have no interest in that.
Then he wins that, and then you get the chance at a triple champ. And I think that's an easier fight.
Dude,
for him.
Honestly, you're right. He should just try to.
Good, because I think it's an easier fight for him too, right? Like, some of these heavyweights, dude. Okay, no offense to any of these guys, but, like, dude, look at the names in the top 10 here. Dude, okay, again, no offense, but Tiburia versus Alex.
I got you. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying, dude? Like, you know, I mean, they're big boys. Like, he has to, you know, not get hit too much. But, like, dude, I think that should be his move. If I was him, he's 37. You go to a higher weight class. Boom, you get your chance at a triple championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's not so big that he couldn't go back down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's some interest there.
So I think realistically, what's going to happen? I think he's just going to end up fighting the winner of Ankalaev and Rakic, and hopefully he wins that and maybe has a couple more fights and goes out on top. I would really like to see him do that. But he is 37, and if he went and dabbled up at heavyweight, you go and beat. Dude, if he beat Volkov, boom, that earns you a title fight. And depending who's champ, maybe it's Jones who's on his way out. Maybe it's, Aspinall and he gets lucky or whatever, but he could become...
Oh, it's so if he could take on the winner of Volkov Cyril Gane.
Dude, honestly, him against Gane I think is a fun fight as well.
But here goes the thing. A champ can't move up. I mean, it has been done in the past. But we haven't seen it since... Anderson Silva moved up to fight Forrest Griffin. We haven't seen a champ move up to do a non-title fight.
No, dude, yeah. Yes, BMF. Or I guess we want to count that as a title. Max going up to lightweight.
Yeah, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen a champ move up.
And also, that's right, he wasn't the champ, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, to a non-title. Okay, sorry, I was misunderstanding what you're saying. A champ go up to a non-title.
Yeah,
fight.
like while Alex is holding 205, go up and fight for not a title at heavyweight.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying? We haven't seen it since Anderson Silva. No, Anderson was he the champ when he fought DC at UFC 200?
No,
he wasn't.
But he also
right.
he also went up and had multiple fights at 205 while he was the middleweight champ.
Right, but the most recent I believe was Forrest Griffin, right? Because first it was James Irving, then Stephan Bonner, then Forrest Griffin.
I think Bonner was last.
Bonner last.
I believe so. He might have even lost the championship when he fought that fight.
Okay, all right.
I could be wrong, but
whatever. But you're getting it.
Yeah.
That's like last gen.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't call that like this gen. So in this gen, when we've seen people move up, we saw Conor move up. Mm-hmm. We saw Izzy move up. Did we see anybody else move up as champ?
You said Volk.
Did it has a champ?
Volk
has a and Volk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've seen Volk, Conor, and Izzy do it. We haven't seen anybody else move up as champ to a non-title fight.
Not that I can remember. No.
Nope.
If we're wrong, let us know in the comments. Okay, check this out then. He waits a while, heals up, fights, whoever it is, Rakic or Ankalaev, right? If he wins that, then there's a good argument that he's wiped out the division, right?
Yeah.
Then go to heavyweight. At that point,
Jones Stipe have fought
Stipe.
And I bet you Jones would take that fight over Tom Aspinall. I bet you he would stick that to Tom Aspinall. Dude, that's it. That's it.
And check it out. If we want
he'll stick it to Tom Aspinall. Jones is going to beat Stipe. When do they fight? November?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, November 16th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jones beats Stipe November 16th.
Uh-huh.
Poaton heals up. Maybe beats
the
Ankalaev,
right.
Rakic winner. Maybe not. Maybe just go straight to Jones. Just for Jones to push Tom Aspinall down the line.
So one, it's funny because he's again pushing Tom down the line, which I love Tom Aspinall. So I feel
I feel terrible,
but it is funny.
But like it's a John Jones thing,
right?
Like John would do that.
And think about it: if we want to see a triple champ, and you want to see him get it over,
it would be
Jones,
the most legacy-defining thing ever.
And
it'd be like who was the true 205 GOAT,
bro. And the only time he could beat Jones, well, I shouldn't say that, but probably the best time to beat Jones is when Jones is on his way out. You know what I mean? Which we don't know if he is or not yet, but like Father Time catches up with everyone. So like sooner or later, dude, that's exciting.
That is exciting. Okay, let's move it on.
Oh, hold on. I have a good question about this though. So how many tall champs have we seen versus short champs overall? Relative to their weight class, obviously. So how many Matt Serras have we seen versus Anderson Silva's or John Jones?
Probably more tall.
I think so. Is being tall and good at wrestling the best base for MMA ever? It must be, right?
I mean, it's pretty hard. So like, who are your short kings? You got DJ. He was short even at flyweight.
Yep. Henry, was he short? Yeah, he was short for bantamweight. Right?
For bantamweight, yeah.
Matt Serra,
obviously. The current bantamweight, Marab is short.
Oh yeah.
Versus like an O'Malley who was tall.
Right.
Aldo was tall. Mm-hmm. Then at featherweight you had Volk.
John Priusada Hendricks.
He wasn't short.
Oh really?
No, he was regular. He was average. He wasn't tall.
I thought he was
short.
like.
No.
Oh, interesting.
No, we're talking about short.
Yeah.
Not average.
Right. No,
right,
for sure. I thought I'm just wrong.
No, Hendricks is like my height. Would you consider me short at 170?
No, I would say you're normal for 70.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm taller than Tyron.
I thought he was like, I thought he was Sarah height. I thought he was like 5'6".
No, he's probably like 5'10".
Got you.
Yeah, dude.
I can't think of anyone else, especially good guys.
What about like upper weights, like short boys, upper weights? Like Kane was average.
Look at these top 10 guys. I'm not even seeing anyone short.
Dude, everybody tall here.
Oops.
I mean, Roy Nelson, but he was never like a champ.
Yeah. He wasn't even that short.
Everybody's tall. Everybody's tall except for Khalil, which he's not even he's like 6'1".
Oops. Yeah, dude, it's not. But I think
go to middleweight.
I think being tall might be like the best thing. Dreykus is normal to tall.
Dude, I don't see it. Scroll. Jared Cannonier, how tall is he? Like 5'8"?
No, dude, he's like 6'2".
What?
Yeah, he's tall.
No, he's not.
He is.
Click on him. 5'6". No.
What? So they don't have it listed. No, I'm pretty sure he's at least 6 foot. I'm pretty sure about that.
I'm surprised by that.
Our tech is much better, but not good enough to give you real heights. I should have just brought the keyboard over here. Yeah, dude, I think that being tall is like a crazy indication for how well you do in mixed martial arts.
It is hard to be short.
Yeah.
Frankie Edgar. Short.
Yeah, but I think that was an era thing.
Yeah, okay.
And as the eras went on, he had to go down to his actual weight classes.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So that's interesting. Oh, last thing about the Poaton Rountree fight. Dude, okay, so you know what the Mandela effect is, right?
Yeah, it's like when you remember something
Berenstain Bears, right? That's how we remember it. But it's actually the Berenstain Bears, or like Shazam, but it's actually Kazam, right? Do you get what I'm saying?
Shazam, is that with Sinbad or Shaq?
I don't know, dude. But,
okay.
Like, we all remember there being a movie called Shazam.
Yeah, there is a movie called Shazam.
I believe it's actually called Kazam. Or maybe it's whatever it is. Like, we all remember something, and when you go and look at it, I actually just saw it.
Yeah, no, but they're like erasing things. Because like they show like the Fruit of the Loom logo, and it doesn't have the cornucopia, right? And then people will like find, like they pull out like old underwear from they're like, cornucopia's here.
Right. But what I'm saying is, what the Mandela effect is
I know what it is, but someone found the VHS.
Right, so that's not a good example of it. Oh, of Shazam?
Yeah. With Sinbad? You know who Sinbad is, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Dude, he actually
was in Rick and Morty.
Wait, really?
Yeah, he was in Rick and Morty whenever where do they go? No, that's American Dad.
Oh, gotcha.
He was in American
Dude, we
Dad.
lost all of like our fighters who are under the age of like 25.
I can't believe how much they don't watch cartoons. Like these guys.
That was big when we were like younger.
American
Also, Sinbad
Dad still is like popping right now.
Oh, really?
I watch American Dad. I literally watch American Dad every day.
Okay,
every single day. Go. Not a day goes by. I mean, obviously.
Okay, let me put it this way.
Occasion.
We lost them at Sinbad. They're like, who's Sinbad? But
this is true.
Getting back to Sinbad.
Okay.
The first time I went out to CSA, right? I was by myself, right? And I was in this super crappy motel, and across the street from it was like a comedy like bar, right? And I'm just like, oh, I wonder who's there, because like maybe I'll just like it's literally right there. Maybe I'll just like after training just walk over there and like see some comedy. It was Sinbad.
No way.
I didn't go.
Oh my god, I would never have missed that. That's crazy.
Well, I went multiple reasons. I didn't get. One, I wasn't about to go in by myself and get roasted, and two, I was so tired from like 8 hours straight of kickboxing. Yeah. But anyways, so Mandela effect wise, now granted, I'm the only one who did this. I thought it was Rountree with a D.
And it's
Rountree. Let me show you these rankings real quick, bro. Okay, so you also thought that it was Rountree, correct?
If you were told me to write his name out, I would have put a D in it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. For a second, I thought I was just being stupid. Dude,
oh, okay, yeah, but then if you would have showed me that, I wouldn't have been like, I wouldn't have been like, wow, I'm crazy, I can't believe that. Like, I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it makes sense for sure.
I could see.
But when I was writing these notes, I was like, oh, dude.
Who is like currently like, you know, like who's one of the greatest American wrestlers recently? Heavyweight.
Oh, Gable Steveson?
Okay, yeah, okay. All right. Well, you nailed it. Gable Steveson.
Yeah. But
right?
You can
like,
see that it's...
I was calling him Gable Stevenson. Like Stevenson.
Right.
Forever. And then I was like, there's no end in this.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, Gable Steveson. Right?
Yeah, those are easy mix-ups for sure. I'm not saying this is like a wild thing, but when I was writing out the notes, I was like, dude, and I've known about him for years. I always thought it was Rountree. But anyways, do you have anything else to talk about UFC-wise?
No, and do you want to talk one? And
yes, I do. It's going to take me like 3 seconds.
Yep, run it.
Okay, so Friday night, there were some fights. I only watched the main event, which was Reggie and Urasol versus, I don't even know who he was fighting.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about this. Run it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right,
this
we're going to get
bullshit.
Yeah, dude, we're going to get to that. But anyways, let me talk about this fight real quick. It was really cool. So, do you know who Reggie and Urasol is?
No, I don't.
Okay, so he's this, I want to say he's like Surinese or something, but he's this like...
Don't even, like, Surinese.
I could be wrong. He's from Suriname.
Hold on.
Is that what you call someone from Suriname?
Well, you just ruined the whole bit.
My bad.
Because I was going to be like, okay, quiz me on what country I think that means you're from. I had nothing. Now, what country is it?
So I think he's from Suriname.
Never heard of it in my life. This is the first time I've ever heard that word said.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because if I'm wrong and people are like, yo, dude, you have like an American level of geography, I'll be like, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I'm an American, bro.
But I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter.
I'm an American, and here goes how powerful we are. You guys are running your fight cards on our time, and we don't even watch them.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude, even in the UK, bro. Yeah, dude. But anyways, so Reggie Arsal is this dude who was like on top of the world for like 10 years. He was undefeated for, I think, about 10 years, something like that. He was the kickboxing and the Muay Thai champ at one. Also super tall. He's like 6'4", fights 170, something like that. Fantastic, like, you know, background to be tall like that. But anyways, so he just lost to this dude who, now I'm forgetting this guy's name, rematched and showed that he was the dominant fighter. He got hurt in the first fight, and I think that like that shows like, nah, dude, that wasn't the case. He's actually better. But he won, so that was fun. You guys should watch that fight. It was, if you have a lot of time and you're kind of a kickboxing nerd, it was a fun fight.
Nice. All right, let's talk about this Lineker punch. Okay,
so Lineker fought on that card, and I think he won. Doesn't really matter. But leading up to it,
I remember when this fight happened.
Yeah, and they posted this for that too. But leading up to it, they kept posting this clip of him, and it's Lineker. And I want to say, it doesn't matter. Maybe I mix up the hands. He throws a right hook.
It is absolutely a right hook.
Okay, he tries to hit the body. He ends up catching the elbow. The dude's arm swings out, obviously, and then he comes up with a left hook and knocks him out.
Yeah.
And they show videos of him breaking it down and them like pointing at the pieces and stuff. And he's like, yeah, you punch the arm, it opens it up, and then you can land your strike. First of all, that's not the mechanism that allowed the left hand to land. The dude went out and down.
Yeah.
The punch pushed it out. He just went down on his own. They showed a boxing fight where the same thing happened, and the dude was like, ugh, and then got hit. Maybe it would have created the opening, but that's not what made it happen. And second of all, 1,000% that was a happy accident.
They made it seem like he did it on purpose. Like,
yeah.
He didn't do that on purpose.
Dude. Zero chance. Zero chance.
Yeah, no shot.
He whiffed a body shot, and then he threw one upstairs. And that's what happened. I'm so glad that you thought the same thing, dude.
100%. I remember when they posted that after that fight happened.
Yeah,
like,
and
the
I was
next
like,
day, and
come
I'm
on,
like,
guys.
come on, dude.
And I think that it's well documented. You and I have a love-hate relationship with one championship, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love that they have elite level striking. I love that they do entertainment Muay Thai. I love that they're starting to like bring this striking to the U.S. I hate that they promote their MMA as world class. It's just objectively not.
Yeah.
I hate that they put MMA in a ring. I don't love that. And they do stuff like this, dude. And also, dude, Rountree, bro. Like,
dude. And they're always like, oh, like, everybody here is a world class, like, not Division One. That's just like a national level. But yet they'll get like some like average D1 dude, and then they'll tout him.
Right, exactly. They're like, he was such a good D1 wrestler, and it's like, dude, really? I called Mike, and Mike's never heard of the guy.
Yeah.
So, dude, so that drove me crazy. That's just like a big check on the negative for one in my mind. They're annoying me right now, so that's enough one. They don't get any more shine from us.
Yeah.
And then last thing, dude, I got to make a correction. I think I said that in the Rajamnar World Series that Daniel Rodriguez and Ritwada were like in the finals already.
Rich Waters.
I was wrong. They
are
are in the semis.
But they're opposite sides.
Yep.
We got Ritwada versus
Thananchai. Yep.
And then you got Daniel Rodriguez versus Ruslan Nadjev.
Who I believe lost to Ritwada already.
In this tournament?
I don't think so.
No, it couldn't be, right? Because they all would have won their quarterfinal belts. So that's all going down November 9th.
Yes.
How do you watch this?
I'm pretty sure you can watch it on YouTube.
Okay,
and
so here goes what we're going to do.
Live, they usually post it afterwards.
We have, we have a whole month until these fights are up. We'll make sure that everybody knows how to watch these fights. And you can still jump in and enjoy this tournament. Because, like now we're into the semifinals. Mm-hmm. So you can still see the story play out. If they're running these on YouTube, you could even go back and catch the quarters because it's still going to be
you can watch all these fights. And I think I said it last time, I would highly suggest for our fighters in particular, watch Daniel Rodriguez. And specifically the thing I want you to see is how he chews up space and his output. It's just incredible. Yeah. But anyways, quick correction. They are not...
He looks exactly how I would have guessed, like you said.
Yeah.
Because you said he's from where? Sweden?
He's Swiss, but he's
Swiss.
originally from I think the Dominican.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, he's a Swiss fighter, and I was like, whoa, and you're like, no, dude, it's exactly what you think.
Yeah.
And that is exactly he looks exactly how I had him pictured in my head.
Yeah, dude, I'm very excited for whenever they have that fight, dude. Maybe that's. We've been threatening it for like a year, but maybe that's when we have a live fight where we watch that on like a Saturday morning and live stream it.
I'll find a way to not be able to do that.
But anyways, yeah, exciting stuff happening.
I'll go do a tournament
in the stadiums. I'm sorry, bro.
I think the Nashville opens that day.
Oh, dude, there's a Naga in Illinois. Why are you going there?
Yeah, dude.
But anyways, yeah, dude, exciting stuff happening. So
well, that was sick. I really enjoyed that. I hope you guys enjoyed a more in-depth, detailed breakdown. Definitely going to keep running those. Going to get better at those, talking rankings, things like that. Maybe our production value will even get better. Maybe we can throw rankings up later on, like on later episodes, so that way you can kind of see what we're discussing. But in the interim, until we feel like diving in that deep, to like do that, like kind of like how we did for the CJI when we threw the brackets up. While you listen or watch along, pull the rankings up. You know, and you can kind of see what we're talking about and stuff like that. Otherwise, just believe us. Because you always should listen to your coaches, and we'll catch you next time.